Governor Rounds recently said he's proud the budget has been balanced without using reserve funds. The reserve funds have actually increased, but, and this is a big but, public schools must spend down their reserves or deficit spend because of the K-12 and cuts to higher education. How can you justify this? And we start with Lieutenant Governor.
The budget problem South Dakota faces is a consequence of two things. One is the decline in tax revenue. The national recession has affected virtually every state in the nation. Virtually all of them, not every one of them, have seen tax revenues fall as the economy slows, tax collection slows. For the first time since 1939, South Dakota's non-farm personal income growth was negative in 2009. So that's a benchmark by which you can measure. The other factor, as South Dakotans have lost jobs, more people have gone on Medicaid. The budget this year, the deficit was created primarily because of Medicaid growth. Almost $50 million in projected additional expense to Medicaid. These are older folks in nursing homes. They're largely children who've gone on the Medicaid rolls because their parents have lost jobs or for other reasons have lost income, and they've been forced to go to Medicaid for their medical needs. So it wasn't a fun process to confront that kind of a budget. And last year, the budget was balanced by freezing state salaries to state employees, by freezing payments to nursing homes, Medicaid providers, like Children's Home Society. We froze salaries and had to cut positions at Children's Home as a consequence. This was the first year where funding through K-12 was also frozen in the same way. It wasn't a fun process, but it was an unfortunate consequence of the budget.
Well, balancing budgets are always hard in a uncertain economy like we've been in now. And as Lieutenant Governor Daugaard said, that we are in a different economy than we are now. I mean, for decades, our incomes were increasing, and this last year our income started decreasing, and then people started spending less. Basically, is what happened. And we all need to do our share to help balance that budget. It's as a governor is more concerned in more issues than it can't be a single-minded issue when it comes to that thing. I mean, there's several other people in the state and other businesses that he has to look out and to take care for too. And I know how hard balancing a budget is. I've balanced the budget since I was a junior in high school. I run my own business that long, so sometimes you have to kind of look at things a little different. Look at how much money are we projecting to take in, and then kind of work it backwards and say, this is what we got for this budget, and this is what we have for this budget. Doesn't mean that that's the way it's going to be forever, but one of the biggest challenges that's going to be to the next governor is balancing this budget, especially with this the stimulus money's going offhand.
One of the most hypocritical things that goes on at the state level is this simple fact. The state of South Dakota imposes on school districts and counties the requirement that they cannot raise more than 3% of the rate of inflation, whichever is less. It refuses to live by the same standard at the state level. Okay? So the state general fund grows on average year in and year out 5.5%. The state general fund has grown at that rate at the same time you have been held down to 3% or the rate of inflation, whichever is less, and now even that's gone. Okay? Had we imposed the 3% of the rate of inflation on the state, like we do on schools and counties, we would have a surplus of $500 million today had we imposed it at the beginning of the Rounds-Daugaard administration, but we didn't do that. Now, as to this year's budget, did we really balance the budget by reducing the size of government? No. There was a proposal to do that. Senator Knudsen and I both agreed that we would reduce the size, not K through 12 and not Medicaid, but the rest of state government by 2%. It would have saved $9 million, more than enough to fund the increase, the paltry increase in K through 12 education. But this administration refused to go along with it. And as a result, we didn't reduce the size of state government. It is as big as it was as we started the year. What we did do, unfortunately, was we shorted education, and simply put, it is a matter of priorities. We just need to change them.
Probably the thing I hated most as mayor, and there were very few things, but the thing I hated from outside of the city of Brookings was trying to tell us what to do with our own money, whether it's the state or the federal government. And so it really hinges on an issue of local control. We don't need to be telling you what to do with your reserves, okay? Number two, the state budget. Back in 2001, I mentioned earlier that I came into a structural deficit in the city of Brookings. There were 7 council members. We had to make the decision, excuse me, to either borrow from reserves or change the way that we did business. Well, we opted to change the way that we did business. We brought accountability into local government. We measured performance. We used benchmarks. And the key thing that we did was we set the price of government. We rolled back what we expected for sales tax revenue back to 1999 actual number. That's what we began budgeting from. It's what you do every day, every month in your household. It's what businesses do. They only budget on what they know they're going to get to come in that month. That's what we have to do in state government. Last year I issued a press release when the governor and his staff were working on the budget. And I basically said, look folks, the real number are the revenues that we had in 2005 was just over $1 billion. We have to get back to budgeting from reality. It's going to be very key and very important. We need new strategies. I believe we need new strategies in education, and and how that needs to tie into the economic plan. We need new strategies in healthcare in terms of Medicaid, providing better chronic disease management programs, more innovation into those programs, and we need new strategies on helping people take care of people who can't take care of themselves.
Well, the budget issue this year was a very tough one, and I would have preferred that we use across the board cuts as part of our solution, but as Senator Heiderprim noted, we did not. I do disagree with Senator Heiderprim. There were genuine cuts to the size of state government. It is smaller to some degree. I thought that this year, I entered this year very optimistic, quite frankly, for long-term opportunities for K-12 education, because I thought, given our current budget crisis, the time was appropriate to swallow that very bitter pill of a 0% increase in the per pupil amount for this upcoming year. But I felt passionately that should be coupled with what I always describe as a hope for a brighter future by tying that per pupil amount growth to the state's general fund revenue, which, as Senator Heiderprim noted, has typically grown by 5.5% a year until we entered into this most recent recession. I really thought that combination was realistic in dealing with the current budget and proper in terms of giving us a brighter future. And I probably had more optimism this year about our ability to do that than I had in any prior year. And so without question, this was the most bitter disappointment of my 8 years in the legislature, was our failure to be able to pass Senate Bill 124.